Ineos is one of the largest companies in the world. Our success as a business is based upon strong core values, grit, determination and rigour. Throughout our history, we have supported community sports groups around our sites from grassroots upwards. In the last 5 years, we've invested significant amounts in wider community and professional sport. This has manifested itself in quite dramatic fashion over the past few weeks. On the 1st of May, Ineos acquired Tour Racing Limited, bringing to an end a decade of Team Sky and heralding the start of Team Ineos, and making Ineos the owner of one of the most successful cycle racing teams of all time. That's why I'm here in Riccione, Italy, where the Giro d'Italia is taking place, where we're going to find out more about this fantastic team and bring you the news from all around Ineos. In this episode, we get exclusive access to Team Ineos and get insight to this new acclaimed part of the Ineos family.
Ineos hasn't, become part of us. We've become part of Ineos. That's how I see it.
If cycling's not your thing, then don't worry, because Ineos have also announced the astonishing Project 159.
Probably the greatest sporting challenge that's left, certainly in anything involving endurance or athletics.
In our last edition of INTV, we announced our commitment and pledges towards plastics recycling. In this edition, we look at some of the initiatives we already have in place around the globe. I'll be speaking with Ineos Chairman Jim Ratcliffe, and as always, we will provide all the latest exciting news from across the Ineos Group. Right now behind me, Team Ineos are getting ready for the 10th stage of the Giro d'Italia, Italy's equivalent to the Tour de France. The team consists of about 100 individuals, 29 riders and 71 support staff, and every single one of them has a vital role to play. Here, we're going to catch up and find out the secret to their success.
It's 2008. Britain has just secured 19 gold medals at the Summer Olympics in Beijing. Cycling in the UK is riding the crest of a wave. It's more popular than ever before. But was it sustainable? Could Britain maintain its position at the front of the crowd? One man decided to seize the moment.
Certainly from when I started cycling as a young lad in North Wales, it wasn't a major sport in this country. But I think slowly but surely the popularity grew, and we did particularly well at the Beijing Games. We started various different programmes with it, as well as trying to perform at the elite level.
In 2010, Team Sky was created. Over the next 10 years, Dave and his team went on to win 9 Grand Tours and a staggering 327 victories. They became one of the most successful cycling teams in history.
I've always been a believer in somebody's going to win something, why can't it be us? As a nation, for example, we've got 64 million people, pretty capable. It's been a fantastic 10 years, progressing into Team Sky and challenging at times, but fantastically enjoyable.
But all good things must come to an end. Sky announced it would not be renewing their sponsorship. So what would that mean for the future of the team? Dave set out in search of a new sponsor, and in May 2019, the future was no longer in doubt when Ineos announced it would be taking over ownership.
When Team Sky said it was going to stop, you could say, okay, so I put my feet up, stop, and race my bike, enjoy myself and have a bit of comfort. But then you think, be brave, show some courage and go and try and do some crazy things, go and try and still go and achieve big goals and scare yourself.
And with this newfound courage, and with the support of Ineos, the 29-strong team have done just that. But why Ineos?
I didn't have any doubt in my mind that there was a fantastic opportunity, very, very different from what we'd been used to for the last 10 years. Sky is pretty corporate, pretty conservative, and I think the Ineos culture and mentality is very, very different, and I must say it's far more fun. In fact, I really, really love the way that Ineos came in and said, okay, if we're going to do it, let's do it properly. And that really chimed.
So this is obviously a pretty amazing sporting machine, and the person who knows more about it than anyone else is sitting here with me, Dave Brailsford. Dave.
So they tell me.
I'm sure you do. So tell us a bit more. We're sitting on the team bus. So what happens to the bus during the day when everyone's racing?
We consider it to be like an empty box, which is then multifunctional in its use throughout the day. So the different stages of the day, and whatever stage we're in of the day, this area gets used differently. Every day we try to arrive at an hour and a half before the start of the race. And as soon as the bus stops, we put down the screen in the front, and then it transforms from a travelling environment to a meeting environment. Screen comes down and we have our day's briefing. Nico, the lead sports director, comes to the front, puts his daily presentation on, and then he briefs the team on the plan for the day. Presents to the whole team the challenge of the day, the route, the course, the wind direction, anything to do with the environment or conditions, any steep climbs. We'll look at the gradient of the climbs. When it comes into the corner, we'll get all either videos or images of any tight corners so they can picture the route in their mind. Then this environment stops being a meeting room, it becomes a changing room.
Yeah.
Then they kind of get ready, get changed, get their legs massaged before they go out, they get all the food ready, and they leave the bus and go to the start. The bus will go then from the start to the finish whilst the race is going on. So the race finishes, they come back on a bus, and then once they sit down, all of them have got a very individualised, specific recovery protocol. And once that phase is done, we then travel again. We're back into travel mode, travel back to the next hotel.
And how do you know how you're doing during the race?
The coaches have gone to see the riders and spoken to them individually, getting feedback. We've got feedback from mechanics, feedback from the rest of the team. And we've also downloaded the Garmin's, which is one of these. That sits on the handlebars. It picks up all the power, speed, altitude, this thing, heart rate. It really is our kind of black box, as it were. So that's kind of what goes on in the day of the bus, really.
And one of the things you mentioned there was, there's a little kitchen here on the bus. Nutrition after the race is important. Let's just walk back to the kitchen and talk a bit about nutrition.
So nutrition's really, really important. So this is our little kitchen area. It doesn't look much. But it's absolutely fundamental to our operations. Before the riders get back every day, the bus driver, Claudio in this case, will be expected to prepare the race recovery protocol in terms of nutrition for each rider. And each rider's got their own thing. First thing they need is a source of protein, good source of protein as a repair. So in here, we'll have each one of those boxes will have been prepared the night before. So they'll take the box, they'll have had specific drinks by the side of the seats when they come in. And that protocol in the first sort of 35 minutes to an hour after they finish exercises is fundamental to recovering and getting or starting the recovery process.
It's probably 3 or 4 months since we first got together. How's it been for you? How have you found Ineos?
Definitely had a flavour of the Ineos way, should I say. There's no, like there's that whole, well, why not? We look better than we did, I think, which is fantastic. Flames burning brightly in everybody, and you can sense the energy. But all in all, it just feels ship is sailing very fast in a fantastic direction. The horizon looks bright, and it's just great excitement around the place.
Dave, that's brilliant, and we're having great fun as well. So thank you very much.
We need to keep the humour.
Absolutely,
keep the humour.
Keep the humour. On May the 6th, exactly 65 years to the day from Roger Bannister breaking the 4-minute mile, Ineos announced a new challenge that is taking the sporting world by storm. Fresh from his victory at the London Marathon, the greatest long-distance runner of all time is going to attempt to be the first man to run that distance in under 2 hours. And who's going to help him? Well, we are, of course.
In the year 490 BC, Phidippides, the Greek messenger, ran from the battlefield of Marathon to Athens to bring news of their victory over the Persians. Upon arriving in Athens, he announced the victory and fell down, dead. This legend lay lost in antiquity until in the late 19th century, when in 1896, the founder of the first modern Olympics, Pierre de Coubertin, was looking to create an extraordinary event. Recalling the glory of ancient Greece, the modern marathon race was born. Today, the race has become a landmark of athletic achievement the world over. The record for the marathon has been steadily dropping. In the past 50 years, athletes have battled to get their times closer to that 2-hour mark. But as yet, no one has been able to break that exalted 2-hour barrier. Into this arena steps Eliud Kipchoge, the world's greatest ever marathon runner. Eliud's marathon career is unparalleled, with an unprecedented 10 successive wins. And currently, he holds the world record for the fastest marathon in history.
The secret is believing on the challenge. The secret is trusting on the challenge. The secret is believing on myself that I can do it, trusting that I have capability to do it.
Eliud is within touching distance of the never-before-accomplished 2-hour barrier. His first attempt at beating this time was breathtakingly close, with Kipchoge finishing at 2 hours 25 seconds. Now, following his historic 4th London Marathon win, he believes he is ready to make history. And this is where Ineos comes into the picture.
You know, any of us that do a little bit of running, just the concept of running 42 kilometres at 2 minutes 50 seconds per kilometre is unthinkable, really. Eliud is the best marathon runner that has ever been, and he's still getting better.
My mind is that I'm going to do it. So my heart and my mind is on 159.
This autumn, Eliud will attempt to break the 2-hour barrier in the Ineos 159 Challenge, a special marathon being run in October.
Eliud is the finest marathon runner the world's ever produced. He's the only man in the world that can break 2 hours, or ever has been, frankly. It's probably the greatest sporting challenge that's left, certainly in anything involving endurance or athletics.
The event will be open to spectators, cheering Eliud into the history books.
We don't have a great part to play. Eliud's got the great part to play. What we can do is help facilitate it. So, there's a mixture of things we have to think about. And there's lots of little things you have to get right. I think one of the quite important things is that, he has a crowd which sort of lifts his spirits as he goes around. But the key guy here is Eliud. However good we are at getting the details right, it's still a superhuman feat.
Ineos believes that individuals can excel when challenged and great teams can achieve extraordinary results. Ineos's ambition is that this challenge will also inspire future generations to get running and get fit for life.
In the 100 years to come, all the human community will actually know that there is no actually wall in this world. You can go beyond anything.
Ineos 159 Challenge is the perfect fit for the Ineos philosophy and a chance to make history.
Can Eliud do it? We certainly think so, but what an incredibly exciting challenge. Keep an eye on our website and our YouTube channel for more information on the Ineos 159 Challenge. In the last episode of INTV, we announced our pledges around plastics recycling and looked at some of the innovative ways Ineos is working to reuse the material. Plastic waste is something we're serious about tackling, and we'll come back to it in each of our programmes. This month, we're looking at the work that Ineos is continuing to do in this area.
This is a nurdle. It's a small, round plastic bead. It's the starting point for all the plastic products that we use every day. Plastic starts out this way because it is by far the best way for companies to be able to reform plastic into its multitude of uses.
Well, it's actually polymers that we produce here on site, so very essential products that go into the automotive industry, lots of household and medical applications we finally end up having our product used for.
We produce plastic in this format because it makes it very easy to transport. It also makes it most efficient for handling at the customers to put it into their processing equipment so it will melt quickly and be able to be transformed into the articles that we use in our homes.
Plastics is an essential product for all of us. It ends up in a lot of initiatives and applications that help to reduce CO2, so it's vital for society.
Plastic pollution is a serious issue. Nurdles are seen as part of the problem. Spills at an industrial level mean that nurdles can find their way into storm drains and then get washed out to sea. Once in the ocean, they are almost impossible to identify. Losing product into the environment is something that Ineos is absolutely committed to preventing. That's why they have signed up to international initiative Operation Clean Sweep.
Here on this site, we take product spillage as seriously as we do safety and quality. It's a fundamental part of our activities here. I'm a local girl here, a Grangemouth girl, and so product spillage in any kind of waste actually is very important to me as a mum, as an employer, and part of the community at large.
Across the Ineos site at Grangemouth, there are processes in place in order to ensure the plants are kept clean.
For me, Operation Clean Sweep is all about ensuring zero pellet loss to the environment. Now, that's not a new concept on site here in Grangemouth. We perform to a very high standard of environment management systems. We have a lot of procedures, behaviours in place to manage any pellet loss. However, what Operation Clean Sweep has done is provided us with a fantastic opportunity to benchmark what we're doing on site against other standards to make sure that we're sharing and learning best practices across industry and a very wide supply chain.
And it's not just in Grangemouth that Operation Clean Sweep is in full force. It's across the entire group. Over in Norway, at the Ineos site in Rafnes, the same diligence is being exercised. The team there are just as dedicated to keeping plastic out of the environment.
No, we basically kicked off a lot of the initiatives already a few years ago, and I think through the activity of the OCS initiatives, I think this matter has become more and more visible. The fact that we are training all of our employees on the matter is extremely important, because they now know that it's really a key priority for us and the business to aim at zero pellet loss. We're really doing something, and that a lot of work has already been done in the past and will be done in the future.
That's certainly not all the stories from around the group on this topic. Each episode will be bringing you more features about our efforts to address the issue of plastic waste and the future of the material. Up next, another regular item in our programme, as I had the opportunity to sit down with our chairman and put your questions to him. So Jim, first question I've got, we always put she at the top of the agenda. I've got a she question to put at the top of the agenda. Is she really more important than money?
100%, yeah, no question. In Ineos, I mean, maybe there are other organisations that may pay lip service to that, but in Ineos, 100%. Safety comes number one. Profit would never come before she. Yeah. Not people's health and safety. Yeah.
Ineos has grown a huge amount in the last few years. So with all those major acquisitions and investments, we're getting bigger and bigger. How are we going to maintain that original Ineos philosophy and business approach?
Obviously, that philosophy sort of starts at the top, and the top hasn't got any intention of changing. So I don't think that influence from the top of the organisation is going to change. The structure of the company, allows that passage of culture and information to flow. I don't think size should change our pursuit of that culture.
In terms of business change, we've seen a lot of acquisition growth in the last few years, but we've also seen a lot of rise in EBITDA multiples and the cost of acquiring businesses. Do you think our growth in chemicals will slow down until the next bottomless cycle comes around?
I think, the fact that chemical acquisitions have become more expensive is a function of a couple of things. One, chemicals have become more profitable as an industry because people have stopped putting silly levels of capacity in. So you get an excess of capacity, you get too many people competing for business and the prices collapse, so the businesses don't make much money. And therefore the acquisition costs fall because the businesses are not so profitable. But obviously that's all calmed down, and the business has been, the chemical business generally has been more in equilibrium. So profitability has got closer to sort of reinvestment levels. The profitability relates to the capital employed, if you see what I mean. When you've got excess capacity, that tends to break down. And the second reason that chemical acquisitions have increased is that the cost of money effectively has got cheaper. So if you look the direction Ineos has turned, it has become, for the first time really in our history, more profitable to invest in new equipment than to buy effectively used equipment through acquisitions. When we bought Innovine, we bought our assets at 30 to 40 cents on the dollar. We paid $9 billion for $30 billion of assets. So that was 30 cents on the dollar. Today, it would be a very different equation. It's cheaper for us to build the assets than to buy them.
Leads nicely into a question from Jorg Pielan from Cologne. So after decades of acquisition, we now seem to be focusing on building our own, like Project One. How do you see that playing out over the next 10 years?
I don't see it changing very much, really, because I think chemical profitability is going to stay relatively, solid. I think the acquisition costs will remain relatively racy in our terms. a lot of our growth is going to come from building new capacity. I mean, the advantage of building your own new capacity is, of course, is you get world-class technology, world scale, in the place you want it. The downside is that you have to wait for it. So, you spend your, with Antwerp, our 3 billion euros, and, but it's 5 or 6 years before it comes on stream. If I spend that amount of money on acquisition, I get it the following day. So, there's pros and cons. But I think generally we're going to see quite a lot more of that new capital going into expansions in Ineos.
Okay, and I've got one last question, which sort of is in our sports arena, where obviously we've had a lot of change.
Behind us.
Behind us, indeed. Do you think, this is from Duncan M in Grangemouth, do you think the higher profile of Ineos through sports sponsorship will encourage young people into the industry and encourage greater diversity?
Yeah, probably, because sport is attractive for young people, and I think through some of these sport initiatives, more people will get to sort of look at Ineos, I suppose, and become familiar with Ineos, and they're worthy challenges. They're good fun. We can afford to do, a few things. I mean, we can do that. We're a private company. They're good challenges. People in the company get involved. It's no, why not?
Absolutely, why not? Thank you very much, Jim.
No.
It's always good to hear Jim's take on your questions. Now, it's not all sporting announcements this month. We've plenty of other news from around our core business, starting right here in Italy.
Founded in 1912, the Ineos O&P site at Rosignano on Italy's west coast has been turning its fortunes around. Following investment in the reactors, a water treatment facility, and the start of Project Bulgari, a new plant to test advanced products, the site has seen a notable increase in capacity. The new CEO and COO at the site are working closely with the team to continue this run of form and create a sustainable future.
Ineos can contribute a lot at solving the issue with plastic. The reutilization of plastic waste is the key for the future, and also for to solve the environmental issues.
In a landmark event, Ineos has announced its donation of £25.3 million to the Defence Medical Rehabilitation Centre at Stanford Hall in Nottinghamshire. On the 28th of May 2019, Sir Jim Ratcliffe paid a visit to the centre to meet members of the board.
If you come here with a trauma, your head's not in a very good place. This is quite uplifting, really, for somebody who's in a very difficult place when he arrives.
Thanks to Ineos's generosity, a new state-of-the-art prosthetics wing has been built to aid the recovery of patients like Corporal Andy Reid.
Went on a routine foot patrol, unfortunately stepped on a pressure plate. I was lay on the floor, on my back, I looked down, couldn't see my legs. Straight away I thought, I'm a survivor, not a victim. This has been purpose built to get those guys out of the wheelchair, get some prosthetic legs on, get them in the bars, get them walking, and then as we've seen before, go around the test track and test those limbs and test the walking ability in a safe environment, or an environment that's real to the real world.
Building on the incredible work of the Grosvenor family, Ineos's donation will mean that wounded servicemen and women will get the best support possible.
Well, the DNRC means a huge amount to me because obviously my father sadly passed away 2 years ago, so this is a project that he came up with when he was back in the military, served for 40 years. I took it over when he sadly passed away.
It's the whole facility that's really very impressive when you drive in. It's been so well done. We're very pleased they've called it the Ineos wing. It's a good cause.
Ineos's involvement in charities doesn't stop there. It supports 2 children's running initiatives, Go Run for Fun and the Daily Mile. In June, both came together for the first time at a huge event in London's Battersea Park.
I think this is a big day for Go Run for Fun and for the Daily Mile coming together. So the Daily Mile is about every day in your school, but Go Run for Fun's an event where all the schools come together, and it seems to be a kind of a marriage made in heaven. They really go well together, and it's a wonderful celebration of children running. So I think it's been a significant day for both charities.
I think it's just amazing to have this number of people, and especially children of such a young age, so enthusiastic and ready to actually go for a run.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing thing for the 2 running charities to be working together, because they'll be able to have a far
larger impact on the children that they're helping. And then obviously promoting that message of having a healthy lifestyle and keeping active. Yeah, like, I think all the kids, when you were looking around, they're all happy, laughing, screaming as well, jumping up around. Like, I don't think I saw one kid who didn't have a smile on their face the whole day.
The Rebels Crew is a national sailing initiative for school pupils around Britain. It works in partnership with Ineos Team UK and their charity, the 1851 Trust. In May, IT UK sailor David Carr went to West Reservoir in North London to help inspire local kids, get them out on the water and show them the ropes. Funded entirely by the Trust, it's a great way for young people to get into the sport. Keep up with INTV for more info on the Rebels Crew and the great work of the 1851 Trust. Over in Antwerp, Belgium, Ineos are investing €3 billion into their manufacturing site. A crucial part of that investment is the new propane dehydrogenation unit, and in June, Ineos signed a contract with SK E&C Korea for the unit's front-end design and engineering.
SK have got an international reputation. They're a big company about the size of Ineos, and SK Engineering and Construction did a really good job convincing us that they could do the front-end engineering design for this project. So we're very happy to partner with them.
The signing of the contract today is very, very important to SK E&C. This is the first project for SK in Europe. So we are very honored to have this kind of opportunity with Ineos.
Ineos announced it will be building its first ever plants in the Middle East. The new state-of-the-art plants will use Ineos' world-leading technology. It will be the first of its kind when it starts up in 2025. Sir Jim Ratcliffe says that this is a major milestone for Ineos, marking their first investment in the Middle East, adding value and creating further jobs in the kingdom. In an episode packed full of sporting challenges, there is one more to mention. In June, at Land's End in Cornwall, Granny Maeve, or Mavis Patterson as she is officially known, set off on a record-breaking adventure to cycle the famous 1,500 kilometres from Land's End to John O'Groats, all in aid of Macmillan Cancer Support. A feat made all the more remarkable by the fact that Mavis is 81 years old. With the help of Ineos, Mavis entered the record books on the 22nd of June when she arrived at the top of Scotland.
Ineos is moving into some new arenas, and we hope that with our shared values and visions, we can be making our way into the sporting history books. INTV will keep you up to date with all the latest news, stories and developments from across our increasingly diverse and exciting business. Thanks for watching. See you next time.